Thank you. Is it a winning lottery ticket?
Genetic code, that's so she can make a double.
Oh, man.
You know, I have stayed hungry for years.
Yeah, we're ready. All right.
Hello.
Hi. We have a brief agenda.
Yes.
Okay. I have one thing, so I can go first or I can wait.
Perfect. We might get out of here before the rain.
Maybe.
All right. Go for it.
Article 2 has not been opened yet
Okay.
that we know of. And so here is your proposal. They're minor things. Hopefully we can get a TA.
Okay.
Page 1, just pronoun updates.
Okay.
Page 2, we think that the bulletin board has evolved. Anyway, prior to placement on bulletin board will be signed or initialed by a representative of the association. It's just not, it's not practiced.
Right.
So if it's no longer practiced, then
Okay.
maybe we should take it out. And then we would like to update J to include a more wide-ranging protection. So that's probably related to law, as you would imagine. So, but anyway, sexual orientation, gender identity.
Okay.
And then pronoun usage after that, and that's it. So, yeah. Hopefully. That is the only thing that we have. I understand that 5 and 7 are on our side as well. I just don't
Yeah.
have them,
Yep.
but we will the next time.
I absolutely understand. So, okay. So I'm going to pass across Beachside High School. You all had countered with a week or 4 days.
4-day window.
And so I'll give you a second to pass those out. Let me know if you need another one. So I highlighted where I had made adjustments. So prior, it said staff will be paid their hourly rate for the planning opportunity for a maximum of 7.5 hours per day. And then we just added for the equivalent of 2 days between Monday, July 25th, 2022 and Thursday, July 28th, 2022 for a total of 15 additional hours. Just again to clarify that it's 2 days, not 4 days. And if somebody came in a half day, or something of that nature, that they knew that it was 15 hours. We spoke to Greg Bergamasco. He's fine with that. And so no issues. However, we did want to make sure that we put a qualifier in this. And that is, this opportunity is contingent upon receipt of a certificate of occupancy by the St. Johns County School District prior to July 25th of 2022. We did not have that in the prior MOU for Tucoy and Pine Island, but we feel like it's necessary for
Can't argue with
Beachside
that.
just due to the current situation. That's all. Okay. We're going to open up Article 10. And so this has not been opened yet. And I think the same thing, just a few minor changes. Sorry, Phyllis, am I going too fast? Not that one. I should have emailed you one that said in service. All right, I'm just going to kind of keep moving. So there is no staff development council. That hasn't been in place for, again, many years. So we didn't want to not give an opportunity for the teachers union to have a say, but we didn't necessarily want to stick to a staff development council. So we changed this to say, we took out the staff development council will be comprised of equal, and we just put representation from the teacher association, the non-instructional association, and management will collaborate as needed to make in-service recommendations based on the needs of all school district employees. Considerations for input will include surveys, district and school-based initiatives, state mandates, textbook adoptions, etc. We just tried to generalize the statement. In B, we just changed an and to an or. In C, changing and to an or. And then E, we get questions about this a lot from school administration about when can a professional employee be excused from participation in a required in-service. And so we put in there that if they can demonstrate that they previously participated in an equivalent activity within the last year as documented on the employee's in-service transcript. That's it.
Okay. Not that yeah, it truly is just a question, why within the last year? Why, isn't that kind of dependent on the in-service?
It is, but again, there's the qualifiers in there. So again, I'm going to have to ask Melinda because she's the one that can really explain it. So is it okay if I have Melinda come up and talk about it?
If something's changed, I can see it, but if nothing's changed.
Well, that's why I want her to talk about it
Yeah.
because she's the one that experiences it.
Okay,
So
happy to hear.
So the 1 year came from, especially when we talk about research-based practices, a lot of times we have situations where there was a training that was called something in the past. But now, several years later, that training looks very, very different, either because of legislative requirements of what must comprise that training, or perhaps the place where the person was called it something that is the same name, but it's not the training that we need that teacher to actually have. And we have had some situations where a teacher, and rightfully so, felt, I don't want to waste my time being forced to participate in this training because I've already had it. It's here on my transcript. So in the effort to acknowledge when a teacher has already had a training within a year, because within a year's time, we would hope that that name would create the conflict and we wouldn't foresee that there would be much adjustment within a 1 year time. So we wanted to still honor when the teacher had already had the training, but also recognize that things change and requirements change within what a training could have been called. So that was the ask for looking at adding that qualifier in there.
Okay, I'm hearing changes in nomenclature, but I'm seeing a 1 year time frame, and it's kind of a hope that within the last year the nomenclature hasn't changed. Is that
Very
thinking?
rarely would something change that rapidly. It's usually, even if something is changed in legislation, then there's usually a couple year grace period.
Mhm.
Like, for example, if I can use clinical educator training
Please,
as
yeah.
an example. So that legislation was actually passed in 2017. And then at the district, we did not actually get the white paper and the technical assistance and the creation until 2019. And then we were able to provide our teachers a 3-year grace period where they were still able to reap the benefits of their prior training before they were required to have the updated training. So, that was quite a span. Whereas in giving the year, odds are that sort of shift isn't going to happen within a year. So if they've had it within a year, we're pretty good that they've got the training that's listed on their transcript and that it's up to date.
Okay. Is CET training like the best example?
That's the most current example. We've also had, so probably the most common one that I get with this question has to do with ESE related services and IEP writing, IEP maintenance. So even with QIEP training, quality IEP training, which every ESE teacher is required to have. So that has gone through different iterations. And so somebody who has maybe on their transcript quality IEP training from say 2015, that's a very different training than what they would be receiving now because it's based on updated software, updated legislation, updated requirements. So we just want to make sure that teachers have the most updated information so that they can provide the services that are needed for their students.
Okay. Can you explain the change from and to or? Is that also a Melinda question?
It is a Melinda question, right? Did she write this?
On E?
You're looking at B and C.
B and
B
C.
and C, okay. Because and is inclusive, so just grammatically, and is saying that the individual has to be part of an improvement plan and the faculty comes to consensus that it's in need. So in changing it to or, an individual who's on an improvement plan, that individual could be asked to participate in a training, but at the same time, or it could be the school says, hey, we all see this as something that we think that we need to have. So it allows the differentiation there with the or as opposed to the and.
And I don't have a concrete example of this happening, so maybe you could help me. But from a meaning standpoint, from a semantic standpoint, it seems like we're whatever consensus of the faculty gives us, we're waiving because it can just be identified by assuming exceptions will be made where in-services plan to meet specific identified weaknesses of an individual or when it is part of a school improvement plan. So that doesn't include the faculty. That could come straight from administration. So we don't need both. We need only one. And so it's actually a big change. We're giving up our consensus of the faculty for whatever it's worth.
So Melinda, are we having issues with this now?
No, I was looking at it from a grammatically correct standpoint, and it was just looking at, we're actually limiting. So if a school didn't have something in their school improvement plan, but the faculty sees it as something, having and limits that. Or says the faculty can now see, hey, let's make sure it goes in the school improvement plan for next year. It wasn't there yet, but we have an opportunity to participate in this training.
So here's what I'm going to let you do. Since this isn't an issue that Melinda is seeing, or HR is seeing an in-service, if you guys don't like, or we'll put it back the way that it is, and when you caucus, so you can talk about if that doesn't sit well with you, that's fine.
My initial reaction, that's all. We'll talk.
Okay.
So consideration. So I understand that. I think I understand A. Let's see. In-service recommendations based on the needs of all school district employees. So this just, I mean, there are some meaningful changes, but the main changes recognize us as the collaborator instead of the staff development council. Do I have that right?
Correct. So since there is no longer any staff development council,
Right.
it still gives an opportunity for the teachers union to have a input into what types of trainings are offered and in service in the school district. I mean, we didn't want to have something in here that was no longer
Yeah,
available,
I
but we
understand.
also didn't want to just strike through it and take that ability away.
all right. That's all the questions I have on 10.
All right. So now we're going to talk about teachers providing classroom coverage. Okay, and Phyllis, will you pull up my spreadsheet as well? Okay, so I'll give you a chance to get this out.
Yeah.
So you were red, I was blue. And so then you were green,
Mhm.
and then I was going to be purple, and I thought, well, I'll just highlight what
I
I
appreciate
changed
it.
so that we can actually all see it.
Yep.
So we did make one change. We agreed to January 6th, but then we realized June 30th goes into the summer, and this really is just for the contract year.
Of course.
So we put it through the last day for students. We agree with number 2, classroom teachers, and then we included and media specialists because we know that there are some students that are being added into the media center at times, and so we wanted to make sure that we included media specialists in that conversation. And then classroom teachers obviously includes not only elementary level teachers, but Chad was the example as far as PE and things of that nature, so we were in agreement with that. Number 3, we scratched out our teachers at FCTC, not because we didn't want to include them, but we did some research. We had Dawn Sapp reach out to FCTC, and they are not, those teachers don't get a planning time during their actual student contact day. Their planning time comes either before or after. So they are not actually using their own teachers to cover the classes. They're having to use the program coordinators, the assistant principal, the lab assistants, and substitutes for that. So we struck through it.
Are any of those people in our bargaining unit that
No.
you just mentioned?
The lab assistants are in support staff.
Okay. So basically FCTC is NA
Correct.
for this MOU.
Because it's not happening.
It's not how it works there.
It's not happening, correct.
Okay.
I don't think they could even do it with it being in here. I'm going to turn around and look at the line. Where are you?
Right, because when the other students arrive and their day, it's good. On lunch break, the same lunch break as their students, if they stay continuous, they don't have a thing like we do it in the day. So,
Okay.
Would you like her to make that bigger?
No, well, I just haven't heard my hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll talk louder. Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming. Okay. So the next piece, when you put in non-classroom instructional personnel, we took out non-classroom instructional personnel, you put back in non-classroom, we took it out. When we discussed it if you'll pull up my spreadsheet, at the table, you had thought that it would cost maybe $15,000, $20,000, something of that nature, just didn't quit glance. So for us, start at the top. So what I did is you have the spreadsheet, I used our spreadsheet, mine and yours, and I pulled that non-classroom teachers tab. And what I did was we talked to principals. We actually had all the principals at our principals meeting, and we tried to determine who actually is covering classes on this non-classroom teachers tab. Out of that 370 identified non-classroom teachers, and how many are actually covering classrooms. Okay.
All right.
And I can provide this, we can email this to you so you have this. So not covering classes, the big majority of this is counselors and obviously your nurses. School psychologists are not covering classrooms. Our school social workers are not covering classrooms. So 168 employees are not being asked to cover classrooms. Okay. So then these are who we know are covering classrooms, okay? These are your math coaches. We know your deans. That's who a student service worker is. Deans, teachers on special assignment all throughout the district and all throughout the schools are actually covering classes, or have the potential, I shouldn't say, have the potential to cover classes. And that train instructor on row 29 that says 46, those are your ILCs, most of your English coaches, math coaches, things of that nature. And then if you get to the total, so we identified 146 of that 370 have the potential to cover a class. And then if you'll go down a little bit, Phyllis, these are the ones that we believe are already included in number 2 of this MOU. So we had included our media specialists and then the pre-K teachers. Now remember, our pre-K teachers are on that non-classroom tab because of the teacher salary increase allocation statute about how you could only include those people as classroom teachers if they were actually funded out of operating and not funded out of
FEFP, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so those 3 groups, not subbing, and then who are already included equals 370. So we took the 146. I took the average salary of that group, and it comes out to $35.65 an hour. And so if they cover a class once per week over the 20 weeks between January and May, it's about $104,000 cost to the district, and that is not including pay raises. I haven't put the pay raises into our spreadsheet yet. And then if I just used the hourly rate based upon what our new beginning teacher salary is of $47,500, it brings that down to $94,345.20. So as you can see, it comes at a pretty hefty cost. And so again, we did go back and we had the conversation. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we talked about, and some of it is repetitive and some of it is not. So that group does not have a planning time requirement throughout the school day. And so their school day is more flexible. For some of them, specifically the deans, they get a $2,500 supplement. That's the new value based upon our supplement schedule for work outside of the school day. And so we do know there are times when they cover athletic events and things of that nature, but if covering a class also just required them to work outside of the workday, we feel like the $2,500 supplement is part of those other duties as they're signed pieces. We know a group of those people are also in those positions because they're, stepping stones into administrative positions, and we know administrators are also covering classes and doing what they need to do to support the school. And so I think those were all of my speaking points to that about non-classroom teachers. But we did cross that back out. And then the rest is the same.
Okay, well, I mean, without caucusing, I can tell you that we're close. We have one major sticking point.
Right. I get that.
And I understand your talking points. I think it's worth $100,000, and that's ultimately what we're going to argue.
Okay.
It's worth $100,000 to not leave them out. We do expect the legislature to leave them out. They've done it over and over again, but we are not. The district has been good about working with us to find equity. And there are those that would argue that it's still not fully equitable, even if we did this proposal. But we got to get them something. And we think it's worth. We think it's worth $100,000, and you can use ESSER money for it. There's no stipulation that we know of that says you can't. So there's money there. I understand we made great progress with a $10 million package. I'll say it before you do.
Yeah.
I'll say it before you do. But this is something that we have to look at this as separate from that. we've got a lot more of those non-classroom people covered, as you mentioned, in number 2.
Mhm.
We need to go the rest of the way to get all of them covered. So I guess my question is this really about money? Is it about $100,000?
So-
It's not nothing. I understand that. Go ahead.
It's not, so I think it's about both. Okay, I think that at this point, every increase above a $10 million package is, I mean, even a $10 million package causes the district to have concern. I mean, it's a big package and it's recurring dollars.
That was, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's recurring money. That's,
Mhm.
you know, this is a one-time shot. It's not, you're not taking on $100,000 of debt. You're not taking on $100,000 of recurring money. It's to reward these people for the extra effort that they've been pitching in, because they've been pitching in too.
Correct.
I'll let you keep going.
That's okay. So I think, and again, it's just, I don't want to just keep repeating myself because
I
we're
know.
going to sit here, but it is twofold. It is
Yeah.
dollars and it is the positions, and it's the specifics of those positions and the fact that they are flexible. They are looked at upon their principals as leaders of the school and people that they rely on to help cover the school. And I think I just kind of have to stick with that.
Yeah. Okay. I believe that this is the right thing to do. We've got to find a way to include them, and we think that we've come up with a way that includes them. And I dare I say, for only $100,000, because I know certain people at the table are going to tell, "Oh, it's not." I understand. It's a lot of money in some respects, but why wouldn't we? I just don't know why we would create this derision.
But remember, I mean, there's going to be give and take. I mean, we went from 900 and what was it, $34 to 1,500.
Yeah,
In your,
but
in
they're
your
two separate
counter.
things.
But it's all one big bucket. It's all financial. It is a financial responsibility.
I would
to the
argue that it's a
district.
different bucket, that you can pay for this out of different buckets. And this is not a recurring cost. It's a one-time shot, one and done.
And I get that. And if we take out of even the ESSER 3 bucket, if we take out of the ESSER 3 bucket, then something has to give from that. Something that we may have been doing would have to be taken away.
Yeah. I mean, like paying for PD is something we should be doing with ESSER money. This is something that we should be doing with ESSER money. I don't know. We are getting circular,
Yeah.
but we got to push back because I can't leave these people out. Okay. We'll
Right.
caucus.
Yes, I'm going to start with 30 minutes.
I think that's reasonable. 30.
30.
We go to family. Can you email me the latest version of that? I'll get to it.
Yes, Phyllis, will you email Justin the MOU?
Yeah, give me 10 too. Why don't we do it simultaneous? If you have a TA,
Okay.
I have an MOU signature.
Perfect. We're going to TA Article 2.
Okay, great. All I did here was take off the highlighting, so we're signing the clean copy.
Perfect.
No reason to re-sign later.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Should all be that easy, right, Kathy?
That's right.
Tammy?
Okay.
Side. 2 is done. So in service, hold on. All right, in service, just a small counter. We discussed
These
at the
are ours?
table. Yes, we had to write in the counter part at the top,
Okay.
the header. So we discussed at the table, if it's not a problem, if it becomes a problem in B and C, that or, then we can address it. But if it's not a problem, let's leave the and. In E, we think this captures what was being talked about at the table. If the in-service has substantively changed since such prior training, the employee may be required to attend the updated in-service. If that's what we're trying to say, let's just say it. So there's not a misinterpretation about that 1 year clause.
Okay.
But we do hear you and want to accommodate that. Okay. Anything there? No questions?
We'll just need a couple minutes. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah.
Group is good with that.
Okay, we're down to talking points at this point.
Okay.
You're going to find the same language put back in number 5.
Okay.
So a couple of things that the team feels strongly about this. At the end of the day, let's look at this optimistically. All these people were pitching in for the whole first semester, right? That's at no cost, right? And yes, it could cost $100,000. It may not, but it could. We're not sure that we agree with the line of reasoning about school counselors and deans being stepping stones to admin. Some of them are, but we don't know how far that generalizes. So just kind of a counterpoint there that we're not sure that that's an acceptable line of reasoning that we agree with. But again, we went the first half year all pitching in to make this happen. We agreed in concept to this in October. We don't want to leave them out. We feel adamantly about that. Can we please just get this done?
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you, so at your school, when you see a dean or somebody who's not actually under the bargaining, it's not actually in the classroom, you don't consider them leadership. You consider them just an associate.
I consider, are you asking me my personal opinion?
I'm asking
I
teachers
consider,
in general.
okay, well, I'll
You
open it up to
see-
other people, but I'll give you
Right,
mine.
yeah.
I see deans as my colleagues.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to pass across, and we'll caucus in good faith. I'm going to tell you, I don't think this is going to happen. You talk about October. I'm going to pass you what you passed across.
Okay.
In October. So in October, when you passed it across, you only included classroom teachers in your MOU when you passed it across initially. If we would have signed this in October,
Why didn't you?
it would have only because we opened it up to other areas. So now we have media specialists included. We have classroom teachers that now have, our PE and are taking in additional students, not just elementary. So we believe we have compromised. But you brought up back in October, and in October, you didn't include non-classroom teachers.
Because we had a different problem. You waited over 3 months, not
So
3 and a
you're
half, 3
telling
months and
me-
1 day. The
so you're-
situation changed.
You're telling
That's
me
what I'm
from
telling you.
August to
The
October,
situation changed.
so non-classroom teachers were not being used.
So instead of money, instead of those
This
positions are
isn't-
more flexible, now it's just, you screwed up, SJEA.
You're just mad that I sent this back across and showed you that you didn't include them
Because
in
it
the
doesn't say
beginning.
classroom teachers. It doesn't say classroom teachers.
It
And
does in number one.
we are talking about,
In number one,
in A
it's-
and B, it's talking about
but you
teachers.
say in number one, any classroom teacher.
Okay.
So we'll
Let
certainly
me ask
caucus.
you this.
Mhm.
Who owns that decision? Somebody has to own it. Who owns the decision to not include those 100 and something people?
The district will own this decision if we decide
Who
not
in
to
the
do
district?
this. You want me to give you a person that we're negotiating teams? When I negotiate
So
with
is it
you, and I
you?
don't go, is this Justin?
It
It's
ends
a
with me.
bargaining
I got it.
team.
It ends with me. Does it end with you?
It ends with the negotiating team. As
This
a group. I'm not
passed
gonna-
across in October,
Mhm.
agreed to in principle. It's in the notes. It was verbally said
That we would come to an
that
agreement.
we would come to an agreement.
Correct.
3 months and a week later,
Mhm.
you didn't even counter this. You came with a new MOU. So this is nothing anymore. You did that, not us. So
We-
I don't know why we're having such a heated discussion over a one-time shot that includes all the people. Why would you not want to do this for people? It seems such a weird thing for you to dig in on. If it's, I told you so, if it's they're more flexible, it's they're going to be leaders, it's all of these reasons. It's $100,000. Pick one.
It doesn't have to be one. It's a group of.
Who owns
of
the decision?
reasons. Your bargaining team owns the decision.
It's
You
the
want
wrong
one person,
decision.
It's not one
It's the
person,
wrong
Justin.
decision, Kathy. It's wrong. You're making the wrong call.
We hear you. You have passed across the counter. We
We've
will
made such
caucus.
progress.
We have
We've made such progress.
We have. And I will continue to say that we've made progress. With or without this, I will continue to say that we have done good things.
We have done good things.
Okay. Let us caucus, and I'll be back.
How long?
Let's start, yes, okay, Rich. For you, Rich,
doesn't take that.
give us
Richard's
15.
happy to help it along.
Yeah.
Thought I was in Indian River. Thought I was in Indian River.
Yes. Okay, so we are good with Article 10.
Okay.
So we're doing that. I don't know how many of these you want. We struck through it.
Yeah. Any other
So-
changes or
No.
any solution?
So we struck through it again.
Okay.
I'll just speak to it one more time, that we believe that the MOU that we have collectively come to is inclusive of those that are giving up planning time and those that are taking on additional students in their classrooms. We've come forward with language that we believe is fair. For the non-instructional classroom teachers, I think that the district has shown in the past that we do appreciate them and value them. The paying them to cover a class is an other duty is assigned. And it's not a precedent that this district wants to start with when somebody is provided within their workday, another duty is assigned to pay for that time.
Okay. Is that it? Are you saying that paying teachers to cover during their planning period is setting precedent?
We're saying that they're having to give something up with regards to, we know that if you don't get your planning time, that there's planning time you're going to have to do at another time outside of the workday. We know that it is rotated. And so.
Okay. I don't have any new argument that I haven't said already.
Okay.
So, March 30th.
All right, we'll see
Do
you
you
on
want to
March
put something else
30th.
on the calendar, or do you think, are you that optimistic about March 30th?
Why don't you look at, let's go back and forth with dates. We can always set a date and hopefully won't need it. I think the articles, maybe you and I kind of need to email back and forth, because I think most of the articles that are remaining, with the exception of insurance, are ones that you would pass.
We have a list, yeah.
Okay.
And the
Unless you-
substantive ones have been passed.
Okay, so unless you have something that's on there that you think, oh, that's something the district usually passes that I've missed, let me know. I'm hopeful for March. I'm hopeful that March 30th, we can just knock it out.
Yeah,
We can
we
have an
have-
additional date.
We
need to.
have 5 and 7 on our side. You have 20 on your side.
Correct.
And then we have some others that are kind of floating out there.
Yes, and we have virtual on our
Yes,
side, which we
virtual.
will bring back on the, we
Okay.
will be ready to bring back on the 30th.
Okay. Let's see you on the 30th then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and we're here,
Thanks.
Phyllis, we are here.
5 o'clock, not
5
5:30, right? We've changed? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Happy nice.